Tonight, COVID fury as Melbourne faces a new crackdown. Rule breakers under fire as the lockdown is extended for another 2 weeks. The night curfew imposed again, a city banned from leaving home after 9 o'clock, but the police union doesn't want it. A bitter blow for parents and warning signs for our children as remote learning drags on. Victoria losing hope in the battle to keep the AFL Grand Final at the MCG, the latest live. Desperation as the Taliban takes over in Afghanistan, a mission underway to rescue stranded Australians. And Victoria shows its incredible heart, how people rallied to help save little Oscar.
Thank you everyone that has donated money for me to get to America.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell.
Good evening. Melburnians are heading back under curfew, banned from leaving our homes after 9 p.m. and facing another 2 weeks in lockdown. The Andrews government imposed even tougher restrictions as it warned the Delta crisis is on a cliff's edge. It's also cracking down on COVID rule breakers after an illegal engagement party triggered new cases.
This video was the last thing Melbourne needed.
And clearly this is legal because this is a group therapy session. That's why my father's here. You need a mental health camera. That's my job. Doctor's here.
69 people crammed inside a Caulfield home, all maskless and blatantly breaching the rules for an engagement party.
I really look forward to being able to get to know you a little bit better. And for those who I've already met and are budding to know, it's been great.
Premier Daniel Andrews didn't find it funny, furious as he plunged Melbourne into an extra 2 weeks of lockdown.
It's selfish. They are shitty choices, and they will keep us all locked down for longer than we should be.
The party proved expensive. Every guest is facing a $5,400 fine, the total bill expected to exceed $350,000. But perhaps more costly, the condemnation of a city, now under tougher restrictions.
Our contact tracers will have to spend literally thousands of hours dealing with hundreds and thousands of people connected to that engagement party.
It began as a celebration, but worryingly has become a transmission site. Authorities confirming 3 people at that party now have COVID, but they're still yet to work out who is the source. One of them included in today's 22 new cases. 8 were in the community while infectious, 5 are mystery cases, and exposure sites have ballooned to more than 520.
There will be significant exposure sites in that St Kilda, Caulfield area. We've still got a lot of work to do around the Middle Park outbreak again.
Many of those exposure sites in the same suburbs where authorities say rule breakers force their hand to tighten the rules.
There'll be more people who will die if we see more of these events.
The city lockdown has been extended by a further 2 weeks until 11:59 p.m. Thursday, September 2. A night curfew will again be imposed on Melbourne. It operates from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. Premier Andrews pleaded with Melburnians to begin following the measures tonight. Playgrounds will also become off-limits. Basketball hoops, skate parks and outdoor exercise equipment will also be closed. The Chief Health Officer says this was one of the toughest calls to make for families.
I absolutely thought about it long and hard. I thought about it as a father of 3 kids who love to go to the playground, where it's one of the only escapes from home in a day.
Our girls are shattered. They watched the press conference today and in tears, so it's very hard as a father trying to manage that.
Exercise will be limited to just 2 people in total. People will not be able to remove their masks to drink alcohol beverages in public to avoid pub crawl scenes from the weekend.
Take away, not hang around and turn the footpath into a pub. Pubs are shut for a reason.
After too many Melburnians refusing to work from home, essential workers will once again be required to obtain permits. Additional restrictions will also apply to the construction industry, again operating as it did last year, with staffing reductions in place except for critical infrastructure and emergency repairs. At large-scale construction sites, staffing must reduce to 25% or 5 workers on site.
These settings are tough. This is a tough time. No one is enjoying this lockdown.
I think this is the best path forward. We have to give this a go because we don't want to just be sitting on our hands and being a mini New South Wales.
With the reality of a longer lockdown and return of harsh restrictions, police warn there'll be no leniency for rule breakers, and a blitz is planned for later in the week.
We've seen some really disappointing behaviour. We've seen some selfish behaviour. And we've seen some absolutely outrageous behaviour.
The party's over as Melbourne buckles down for another 17 days of lockdown pain. Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
And police are divided on the curfew, with officers saying they didn't ask for it and they don't want it. But health authorities hope it will help limit movement as contact tracers work against the clock to establish how mystery cases fit into a growing list of clusters.
Almost all of Melbourne's 5 million residents to be locked down overnight again. 10.5 months after our first curfew ended, we are forbidden from leaving home after 9 p.m.
A very tough fortnight ahead.
Our last curfew lasted 58 days. This time we're starting with 17 days to further suppress the movement of people and hopefully the virus.
This is a really serious point in time. And the curfew is reinforcing exactly how serious that stay-at-home direction is and needs to be.
The Chief Health Officer says it's the only choice as outbreaks become more widespread and too dangerous.
It also leaves us with 8 significant clusters that we're still working on. 8 clusters where we do not yet have clear connections between them. They include Newport, the original West Footscray case, Middle Park, Wyndham Vale, there's a few cases in there, the City of Melbourne, Glenroy, Lygon Street, and of course St Kilda East.
Contact tracers are yet to connect 5 new mystery cases from yesterday to existing clusters around Caroline Springs, Melton, Middle Park, Richmond and Maribyrnong. In Newport, a tyre shop is a new Tier 1 exposure site. A positive person was there all day for 7 days, up to August 8. A Glenroy market and medical centre are now also Tier 1 sites as our active cases surpassed 200.
If we don't drive them down, then we're going to finish up like Sydney. Locked in for months.
There are more than 14,200 primary close contacts isolating. Authorities checked 1,200 homes yesterday and found 7 not quarantining. Today, a new battlefront emerged between Victoria Police...
Victoria Police does support the curfew.
...and its union.
We don't think the curfew's necessary.
It's not for me to get into a war of words about the effectiveness of the curfew, if you like.
Victoria Police is stretched to the limit, to be quite honest. It's stretched paper thin.
So the curfew is a complete overreach. It's draconian. Innocent Victorians shouldn't be punished because the government can't distinguish between those who are doing the right thing and those who are doing the wrong thing.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
And the Chief Health Officer is pushing for a testing blitz to coincide with our tough new lockdown measures. Cameron Bowe is in St Kilda tonight. And Cameron, that suburb is one of the main focuses of the COVID fight.
Mitch, this is one of the areas of highest concern with dozens of exposure sites in St Kilda, Balaclava and Caulfield. Extra testing resources have been moved into the area to contend with a potential super spreading event. Now, testing will resume tomorrow morning at the St Kilda Town Hall. Solid numbers today at another local testing site at Caulfield. The overall testing numbers from yesterday were just under 30,000. The government wants to boost that to 50,000 a day to try to uncover chains of transmission they have yet to find in the community, Mitch.
Cameron Bowe at St Kilda, thank you. A ban on drinking alcohol outdoors is among the tougher restrictions. Georgia Love is on Domain Road this evening, and Georgia, rule breakers there have sparked this new ban.
Mitch, on the weekend we saw large groups of people gathering outdoors here to drink takeaway cocktails and beers outside these bars and many in Richmond as well. So from now on, you can't remove your mask to consume alcohol. But venues have reiterated they weren't trying to bend any rules, just trying to survive.
A lot of our business owners, we innovated. They worked so hard. Last year we had JobKeeper. This year from the state and federal government, we have absolute scraps being sent to us.
One venue, the Peacock Inn in Northcote, hasn't even been open at all during the lockdown, but they've been unfairly named and shamed because people were congregating out the front. Venues do hope that people will still come out and support them. They'll just have to take their drinks home.
Georgia Love in South Yarra, thank you. The lockdown extension is a bitter blow for families hoping for an end to remote learning. Experts warn more and more children are opting out of online classes, but there's no plan to get them back in classrooms.
Another 2 weeks of lockdown means another 2 weeks of homeschooling, at least.
And I miss seeing my friends.
The choices here are awful and stark.
Melbourne students have missed out on 24 weeks of classroom learning and counting.
There is a great desire to get kids back in school as soon as possible. That said, this outbreak had significant transmission events in schools.
We've just got to find it in ourselves these next couple of weeks to push through.
Even then, there's no guarantee schools will open for all. VCE students will be the first to return. Working parents are struggling to keep their children engaged, seeking advice on effective teaching methods.
We sort of all fumbled through last year and now it's rolling on again.
Many kids are falling behind and are mentally worn down. Calls to Kids Helpline increased by 68% in 1 week last month.
Every school I speak to has been talking about how they are losing contact with those disadvantaged families, and that is incredibly heartbreaking.
Teachers are finding it difficult to press on with no end in sight and a lack of direction on how to teach online.
At the moment, we're not providing that information to school leaders and teachers about what is great curriculum to teach online. We're saying you go and work it all out.
You can both hear and see that level of exhaustion and the stress that this is creating for them.
While the focus now is on when this lockdown will end, experts say there'll continue to be outbreaks in schools until all children are vaccinated.
That is a concern.
Even if we made a decision tomorrow that every single child was going to get vaccinated, we don't have the vaccines here.
Yasmin Payton, 7 News.
And all Victorians aged over 18 now have easier access to the COVID vaccine, with AstraZeneca injections on offer at all 50 state-run clinics. It comes as Telstra promotes vaccination among its 25,000 employees.
We're going to offer an incentive equivalent to about $200 to every staff member who does get vaccinated.
The offer will be backdated for workers who've already had the jab. The new restrictions will have a huge impact on businesses that had until now been allowed to stay open. Georgia Comensoli joins us now. Georgia, supermarkets will be forced to close early.
Mitch, if you do need to pick up anything tonight from Woolworths or Coles, you've got just over 2 hours until they close their doors. But they're asking customers not to panic buy. They've had to adjust to a whole new set of rules, just like thousands of other businesses. For pub owner Ken Nichols, there's only so much more he can take.
We're just screwed already anyway, so we're just now double screwed. It's just hard to put into words the situation everybody's in.
Arcadia Hotel is only able to make money during lockdown through its small corner bottle shop. But the reinstatement of the curfew...
It just cuts down the amount of hours you have to do some trade, to earn some revenue, to pay your bills and your staff. So previously there were people coming out to buy from the bottle shop kind of up till midnight.
The new rules will also hit hard in the construction sector.
Unfortunately on this occasion we have been caught off guard.
Building sites were allowed to remain open through lockdowns 4 and 5, but from tomorrow only 25% of workers will be permitted on site.
So we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people who will not go to work tomorrow, and that's a very, very big deal for Victoria.
The lockdown extension will mean it's cost the tourism industry $4.6 billion. For stood-down workers, disaster relief payments are expected to continue. The state government has promised a business support announcement in coming days, but that's of little comfort to people like cafe owner Paul Lakaruba, defeated by the prospect of spending longer in limbo.
We're just getting fed up with this constant, oh wait, we're about to come out, oh wait, we're not.
and we're trying to get through it, but it's just getting harder and harder.
Georgia Comensoli, 7 News.
Nationally, the COVID crisis is the worst it's been since the pandemic began. New South Wales has recorded 478 new cases and 7 more deaths. Darwin has entered a 3-day lockdown because a man tested positive after leaving hotel quarantine. And the ACT has extended its lockdown for another 2 weeks after recording 19 new cases. Victoria is losing hope of keeping the AFL Grand Final here. Chief Football reporter Tom Brown has the latest. And Tom, it looks like it's on the move.
Yeah, Perth, the firm favourite tonight now to host the Grand Final, Mitch. But there is a twist tonight. Dion Prestia, according to Richmond, being now investigated by the AFL for a potential COVID breach after going out in Richmond on Saturday night. His manager telling 7 News he went to pick up takeaway and just posed for that photo with teammates. It's a potential embarrassing COVID breach. The AFL today announcing they will scrap the pre-finals bye, keeping on going, keeping the momentum up. They're also sticking with the existing grand final date. 51,000 fans for the derby. The Optus Stadium atmosphere once called the noise of affirmation. Sounds getting louder for the grand final in WA.
We're working with the AFL on very strict guidelines around all these issues.
Victoria's extended lockdown won't end until week 2 of the finals at the earliest. It makes the chances of fans being approved to attend any finals at all extremely unlikely.
It's too early to say, to have footy games with crowds and a million other things. We have lots of options once we drive these cases down.
The pre-finals bye has been officially cancelled. The AFL keeping a potential week off up its sleeve, possibly for quarantine in Perth. Behind the scenes, the AFL now negotiating protocols with the WA government. Families are off the table, but whether vaccination will be a condition of entry is less clear.
They're decisions that we'll have to work on with the Chief Health Officer. But I would expect most footballers, in fact probably all, are already vaccinated. I certainly would have thought that would be a wise decision by the AFL.
Tom Brown, 7 News.
Well, now to some good news. And a desperately ill boy has been given a chance at life thanks to thousands of generous Victorians. Last night, Oscar Dixon's parents begged for help and 7 News viewers dug deep. $500,000 has now been raised for Oscar's life-saving treatment. Hello, anybody home? Little Oscar Dixon has many more happy days playing in his cubby house thanks to the generosity of strangers.
Our boy's going to survive.
Thousands of Victorians giving a boy from Cranbourne the ultimate gift, donating an incredible $500,000 and counting.
We're so grateful to Channel 7 and to every single person in Melbourne who has donated, and even outside of Melbourne.
It's enough to pay for life-saving cancer treatment in New York.
Have you been in a plane before?
Yes.
How many times?
6.
6 times?
It's incredible, you know, children opening their money boxes and, as you say, pensioners.
Last night, the proud parents begged for help. The chemotherapy treatment here won't fend off Oscar's deadly neuroblastoma cancer. An expensive vaccine trial in the United States is his only hope.
We need $300,000 to save our son's life.
Moments after that emotional plea, Victorians opened their hearts, and they've been giving ever since.
Thank you everyone that has donated money for me to get to America.
It's a huge weight lift off our shoulders.
Oscar now has a fighting chance.
With this, what are the odds?
40-50% chance. He's got a great chance now.
There are some great people out there. Tim Watson joins us now, and Tim, an AFL champion, has made a big decision.
He has, Mitch. Eddie Betts is expected to play his final game this weekend, arriving at Blues headquarters to inform his teammates.
What I can say is that I'm happy. I'm really happy.
Plus, Buddy is back for the Swans, but they've been hit hard with a star ruled out of any finals action. And Mitch, all the very latest on the footy developments are coming up soon.
And plenty of them too.
There's a lot going on.
As we speak. Thank you, Tim. Tragedy has struck a family as a schoolboy celebrated his 16th birthday. Next, he was walking with his girlfriend when a driver came out of nowhere in Melbourne's southeast. Also chaos in Kabul as hero Australian soldiers face fresh heartache. The extraordinary number of Victorians who turned their back on the census. And a heavy-handed police officer caught out on body cam. That exclusive special report a little later. A boy on his 16th birthday, walking his girlfriend home, has been hit and killed in Melbourne's southeast. The driver's in custody tonight as police investigate if his erratic driving was due to drugs or alcohol.
A floral tribute for a boy who died the day he turned 16.
I was in complete shock. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't believe it at first when I heard.
Lachlan McLaren was walking his girlfriend home after she finished her shift at Woolworths when the pair was struck by an out-of-control driver. His girlfriend barely suffered a scratch, but the Year 10 student couldn't be saved. Today, his childhood friend paid tribute, now holding on to precious memories.
We've known each other since Year 5. And he's been such a great person, you know, he's always there, always full of life, always ready to have a laugh.
Several 000 calls were made minutes before the horror crash, reporting a ute dodging in between traffic, narrowly avoiding other drivers. The out-of-control driver was seen speeding erratically on the wrong side of the Nepean Highway when he mounted this medium strip and hit the teenage boy. A life with so much potential cut short.
Is every parent's worst nightmare. I mean, this is a 16-year-old kid that has lost his life.
The 31-year-old driver was arrested at the scene. He remains in custody tonight as friends and family come to terms with this senseless tragedy.
Usually there would be a funeral. Obviously that can't happen.
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
A desperate mission is underway to evacuate close to 100 Australians left behind in Afghanistan as the Taliban takes control. They've seized the capital without resistance, leaving our soldiers and their families to question the last 20 years of bloodshed and sacrifice.
Standing at the desk abandoned by Afghanistan's president. Taliban soldiers leaving no doubt who's in control now.
Just one reaction, wow.
Beaming out live as Kabul fell, this seemingly ragtag army just achieved what America thought impossible, a takeover at breathtaking speed. Breaking into Kabul's jail effortlessly and recruiting thousands to their ranks. Within hours, they'd be ruling the streets at gunpoint. In scenes already likened to the fall of Saigon, the US scrambled to ferry embassy staff to safety, smoke rising from the roof as diplomats burned sensitive documents. At Kabul airport, the staging ground for evacuations, commercial planes were grounded as military flights took priority. But most can't leave, clutching proof they helped the US through its longest war. Afghan citizens begged for emergency visas. It was Donald Trump who drew up a plan to bring the troops home, President Biden who delivered it. While holidaying at Camp David this weekend, his administration blaming the Afghan army it spent billions building.
Tragically, they have not been able to defend the country, and I think that explains why this has moved as quickly as it's moved.
In the United States, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
And more than 250 Australian troops are on their way to Afghanistan tonight. Their mission is to join the American effort to help evacuate Australian citizens and visa holders.
Take off on Australia's final mission to Afghanistan, an RAAF KC-30 on a flight to freedom shrouded in secrecy.
I can't really talk about operations.
The air refueler leaving Brisbane's Amberley Air Base this afternoon, but when it can go safely in, now uncertain, with scenes on the Kabul tarmac chaotic.
We're continuing to work with our partners and our allies about the desperate situation that's there.
The increasingly dangerous mission to retrieve 130 Australians, most aid workers and Afghan interpreters and contractors who've served alongside our forces. Peter Lay was Chief of Army at the peak of the Afghan war, a war he says ends in defeat. 39,000 Australians served in Afghanistan, 41 died on the battlefield, many more in their own personal battles on return.
This is an absolute disaster and I'm truly embarrassed and ashamed at what I'm saying.
The original operation to kill Osama bin Laden and crush al-Qaeda, and later to leave Afghanistan a free and safe independent state. That mission not accomplished. In a statement this evening, Scott Morrison demands the Taliban allow people to leave peacefully and warns Taliban leaders they'll be held fully accountable for any political killings or reprisals, but doesn't say by whom or how. Debbie Locke's brother Matthew was killed in Afghanistan 14 years ago. Today she asks, for what?
It's a huge price to pay.
Mark Riley, 7 News.
Back home, and 1 in 4 Victorian households will soon get a please explain from census officers. Only 73% of Victorians have completed the compulsory national survey, but that's more than the national average. You can be fined $220 per day if you don't fill it out. Jane Bunn joins us now. Jane, temperatures have plummeted.
Mitch, on Sunday it was 19 degrees. Today we didn't rise above 14. Winter-like conditions have returned. The gusty winds make it feel even colder. In a shower at lunchtime it felt like only 7. Mount Dandenong was up in the foggy low cloud. They didn't even reach double figures today. Now there is another showery day on the way tomorrow, but there'll be the occasional sunny break. The full details are after sport, Mitch.
Thank you, Jane. See you then. The life of a former AFL star is being painstakingly scrutinised by scientists. Next, see how they're examining every minute of Shane Tuck's football career to pin down exactly what happened to him. Also, a breakthrough after a shocking sex attack at Geelong. The victim was 90 years old. And Melbourne paying tribute to TV and radio legend Ernie Sigley. Police have made a breakthrough after a 90-year-old woman was sexually assaulted at Geelong. Detectives took a 23-year-old man into custody and he's being interviewed tonight. The elderly woman woke to find a man assaulting her yesterday morning. He ran away after being disturbed by a staff member when the victim used her distress alarm. The death of former AFL star Shane Tuck is under the spotlight in a landmark concussion study. The Richmond footballer took his own life, aged 38, and was diagnosed after death with degenerative brain disease.
Tuck lunges.
Went to ground.
A warrior. That's how Shane Tuck was described at his funeral. Courage he paid the ultimate price for.
After his retirement, Shane was a troubled person.
Last year, at the age of 38, the former Tigers star and father of 2 took his own life. A post-mortem later diagnosed him with CTE, a fatal brain disease linked to repeated head injuries. Now, every one of those knocks is being examined ahead of a coronial investigation.
We've got a period of about 9 years of games. We're going through them quite meticulously.
This is Tuck in 2010, concussed. Moments later, he's spotted back on the field. Lawyers say even the AFL's new concussion rules don't go far enough.
Do I think the AFL have done a good job? No.
This painstaking review of hundreds of hours of AFL games is thought to be the first of its kind, and it's revealed some unexpected truths. Video analysts have also found serious and repeated head knocks sustained by dozens of other former players. They too have now been collated by lawyers.
We get a lot of calls, particularly from partners who have told me or wives who have told me that this isn't the guy that I married.
The AFL says it takes concussion seriously and has recently created a new role to focus solely on the issue of head knocks. Elspeth Hussey, 7 News.
The death toll from an earthquake in Haiti has climbed to almost 1,300 as the scale of the devastation becomes clearer. Entire towns have been reduced to rubble. Rescuers are now racing the clock to find survivors before a tropical storm hits, threatening a deluge that could cause flooding and landslides. 7 West Media, the company that owns this network, has posted a bumper profit. Improvements in the advertising market saw profit hit $318 million last financial year.
With the size of our audience and the platform and the scale of what we have, we absolutely plan to lead consolidation in the media industry, and we've got a number of options, that we're actively considering.
Company debt has also been slashed to $240 million. The entertainment industry is tonight remembering TV and radio legend Ernie Sigley, who died after a long battle with Alzheimer's disease. The self-described Aussie battler from Footscray had an incredible 6-decade career.
The gap-toothed, working-class boy.
Hey, hey, Paul.
Such an unlikely TV and pop star.
If I had to worry what my head looks like, I wouldn't have a job.
We've lost a true Australian character.
He started on TV in the 1950s.
She was only 17.
Interviewed the Beatles in the 60s. Had his own national variety show in the 70s.
True love means planning a life for two.
Hey Hey Paula with TV partner Denise Drysdale was a huge hit, followed by the 1975 Gold Logie.
I'm the proudest bloke in the world, Finnegan. I really am.
After 56 years in entertainment, Ernie retired from 3AW in 2008.
I think the secret to his longevity was he was so natural.
From his hospital bed, Bert Newton said, Ernie and I started out together as young boys. He was one of a kind.
It was almost like he just strolled in off the street. He made it look really easy.
Ernie never forgot where he came from, a lifelong Bulldogs fan.
I think he had red, white and blue blood in his veins, Ernie.
But his most unforgettable legacy, that trademark cheeky laugh. Nick McCallum, 7 News.
Our deepest sympathies to Ernie's family. A heavy-handed police officer has been caught out by his own camera. Next, watch the video they didn't want you to see.
Get in the car!
Also, a woman charged over a shocking road rage attack at Point Cook. And a hidden heart danger for 500,000 Australians. An elderly woman attacked by her son's dog remains in a critical condition in hospital. Police were forced to shoot the dog when it turned on the woman after she discovered her son's body in their Hampton Park home. A hero neighbour was also mauled and taken to Dandenong Hospital. A woman's been charged over a road rage attack at Point Cook. Drivers argued in a car park early yesterday morning. A 22-year-old woman was struck and dragged along the road, while a 14-year-old girl was also hit. A 34-year-old Point Cook woman has been charged. A traffic policeman has been caught by his own body cam abusing motorists and, in one case, letting a fellow officer go without a ticket. The case is the subject of a corruption investigation.
Pulled over for speeding, the driver of this BMW is having a bad day. He's not the only one.
Sit in the car.
Show me what I was booked at.
Sit in the car!
I'm not scared of you, buddy.
The senior constable's own body-worn camera captures him arguing with the driver before he draws his taser.
Get in the car.
You're going to point a gun at me?
No, I'm going to taser you.
This incident in 2018 was the subject of a misconduct proceeding, but there's more. Here, the same senior constable pulls over a speeding bike. But when a badge is flashed, he realises the rider is an off-duty officer.
Really? Should know better.
And he lets him go.
All good, mate. Take it easy, eh? See ya.
The case is just one of several being scrutinised by the CCC. In his defence, the senior constable was being treated for post-traumatic stress disorder related to a fatal siege in 2009 and has since undergone counselling. The officer expressed regret during a disciplinary hearing.
I've always prided myself in doing the right thing. I'm an audit myself.
Those stigmas still exist, not to the extent they did before, but they certainly do exist. The organisation is very much about soldier on, keep going.
In a statement, the service said a wellbeing strategy was introduced this year, along with new laws to ensure frontline officers suffering PTSD received immediate support. Regardless, the officers suffered a substantial pay cut and has since undergone mentoring and training. He remains a senior constable. Max Futcher, 7 News.
Cardiologists are warning Victorians over the age of 65 to take their heart health seriously. The number of valve-related diseases is surging, and there are signs to know if you're in trouble.
Olinda grandfather Phil Holmes almost died of a broken heart.
If I hadn't listened to my heart, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you today.
His regular gym sessions had left the 71-year-old unusually tired.
I knew something wasn't right. It just wasn't me.
Phil's one of the 500,000 Australians diagnosed with a faulty heart valve, those little doors that keep our blood pumping in the right direction. Symptoms include
usually shortness of breath or fatigue with exercise,
and
dizzy spells or blackouts or chest pain.
But that's if you're lucky. More than 250,000 of us have no symptoms at all, right now walking around with a defective valve. That frightening figure's estimated to soar over the next 3 decades. At the heart of this spiralling crisis is a simple message for those aged over 65. If you haven't already, book in to see your GP and ask them to listen to your heart. It's a simple checkup that could save your life. If left unchecked, it can cause long-term damage, even a fatal heart attack. But if, like in Phil's case, it's picked up early, a simple hospital procedure can fix it right up. So go on and follow your heart. Sonia Marinelli, 7 News.
Sport is next with Tim Watson. And Tim, we're set for a thrilling finish to decide the AFL's final 8.
We are, Mitch. A Super Sunday looms for a finals contender. Details are next. Also, Eddie Betts prepares to farewell Princes Park. Why the Dogs will be kept on a tight leash by government officials ahead of a top 4 showdown. The Swans suffer a major blow ahead of the finals, but Buddy is back, and Roger Federer reveals why his career could be over. Welcome back. The AFL is keeping their options open with the pre-finals bye. Returning to Chief Football reporter Tom Brown. And Tom, what is the league planning for the finals?
The pre-finals bye has been scrapped, but there still could be a bye. The AFL keeping that option open pre-grand final, potentially for a move shift across to Perth. In terms of the finals, the AFL will release the fixture for round 23 in about half an hour's time. We won't decide the finals fate, it looks like, until Sunday afternoon, because that's when it looks like Collingwood will be announced to play Essendon on Sunday afternoon, which will determine the Bombers' finals fate. I expect the Giants will play Carlton at Marvel on Saturday night. Speaking of the Bombers tonight, Tim, I expect a couple of them will announce their retirements this week, including Cale Hooker. Michael Hurley, their star defender, a big one. He's considering, I can report tonight, his future after that potentially fatal hip infection, which he bravely fought off earlier in the year. He's still suffering the ongoing effects of that. He does formally, Hurley, have a year to run on his contract. And just finally tonight, Tim, on Carlton, I've spoken to Carlton sources today. No announcement this week expected, at least formally, on David Teague. Mark Lagudache formally announcing the outgoing president. He will leave the presidency and his directorship at the end of this week. It paves the way for the incoming president, Luke Sayers, to front the findings of the Football Review. I expect they'll part company with Teague early next week. Tim.
Thanks, Tom. Eddie Betts has just posted on social media confirming he's retiring from his illustrious footy career. The Carlton champions' decision comes with a shake-up looming at Princes Park following an external review.
An icon of the game calling time.
You'll find out today.
Eddie Betts keeping his cards close to his chest, heading into the club to tell teammates of his decision.
What I can say is that I'm happy. I'm really happy.
The Blues fan favourite will play his final and 350th match this weekend. The Swans have been dealt a massive blow ahead of the finals. Nick Blakey headed for surgery and won't play again this year with confirmation of a cracked fibula.
He's learning the craft of playing defence and getting better every week. So really disappointing for him that he's out for the rest of the season and us.
But validation for Sydney's call to rest Buddy Franklin last week. Now the pre-finals bye has been scrapped.
Training hard during the week in the gym and on the training track. But he's pulled up well this week. He'll be able to build into the game.
The Dogs are regrouping after back-to-back losses. To make matters worse, they'll head into quarantine tomorrow night before facing Port Adelaide, due to South Australia's strict protocols despite the game being played at Marvel Stadium. In some relief, Stephen Martin is hoping to return after 11 weeks out with a number of injuries. Laura Spurway, 7 News.
20-time Grand Slam champ Roger Federer admits his career might have come to an end. The 40-year-old needs more surgery on his troublesome knee and will be sidelined for several months.
I want to be healthy. I want to be running around later as well again. And I want to give myself a glimmer of hope also to return to the tour. I am realistic, don't get me wrong. I know how difficult it is at this age right now to do another surgery.
Federer hasn't played since losing in the quarterfinals at Wimbledon last month. Adam Scott blew a golden opportunity to claim victory at the Wyndham Championship in North Carolina. This short birdie putt on the first extra hole was for the win.
Oh! You must be joking.
Scott had to settle for a five-way share of second. American Kevin Kisner won the playoff and pockets $1.6 million. Premier League champions Manchester City started their title defence with a shock 1-0 loss at Tottenham without star striker Harry Kane.
Son had a go and scored a beauty. That's their feast into the bottom corner.
It's just the third time in EPL history that the champions have lost the season opener. Mitch, that's sport.
Doesn't seem right that Eddie Betts will bow out in front of an empty stadium.
No, it doesn't. For somebody who's entertained so many people over so many years, what a career he's had, though.
An out-and-out champion indeed.
Superstar.
Thank you very much, Tim. Jane is next with the forecast. Jane, what's on the way tomorrow?
Oh, Mitch, it's another cold and showery day. Then it turns dry midweek. The full details are next.
Tonight on the latest from 7 News, Taliban takeover week crossed to the Afghan capital as a crisis unfolds. Plus a scramble to urgently vaccinate Indigenous communities, and travel troubles your refund rights for cancelled interstate holidays. Join me for every breaking development tonight on the latest at 11 p.m.
Here is tonight's 7 News Melbourne winner. Watch The Chase Australia tomorrow from 5 p.m. for your chance to win a share in $100,000.
Hello again. The weather matches the mood of the day. We've been plunged back into winter-like conditions. Under mostly grey skies, the temperature really didn't move much. We started at 11 and it only reached 14. It hasn't been that cold in a week and a half. There are lots of showers passing through, so it rains for a bit, then a dry break and repeat. The wind is a gusty southwesterly and it is chilly. But some of those dry breaks are quite lengthy. This here was just before sunset tonight, before another burst of rain moved through. The showers are pushing across southern Victoria. They make it up and over the ranges and then weaken. But we have been seeing the odd one up in the southern Mallee, along with plenty of cloud through there. Now, we are cold, but the chilliest air is to our south. A spectacular cover of snow well down on Mount Wellington in Hobart this morning, making for a bitter morning walk with the dog. That cold front has moved out over the Tasman Sea. Victoria just had the tip of it as it moved past. We'll stay in a cold southwesterly airflow tomorrow before the next high can come in. So the showers continue overnight and for much of the time tomorrow. They are mainly over the south of the state, just making it into the north. But by tomorrow night, it has cleared up. After mostly dry weather midweek, the next weather system is on Friday and Saturday. Light patchy rain increases later on Friday and it persists for much of Saturday too. Around the nation tomorrow is sunshine for Brisbane. Sydney reached a top of 23 today. A cool change makes it just 18 for them tomorrow. Adelaide mostly dry. There's the slight risk of showers, while Perth is warm on the other side of that high with lots of sunshine. To Victoria, there are areas of morning fog in the northwest where winds are light. The rest of the state have a breezy southwesterly that slowly eases. It is showery over the south, with there is a drizzle in there too, and all of that just makes it into the north. And then it is all easing later for a generally dry evening. Closer in, we'll have another showery day tomorrow. There's lots of them passing through and they are heavier over these eastern suburbs. Winds are easing, but it is fairly grey in between the showers. Then it should all dry up during the evening. It is another top of 14 for the city tomorrow with lots of showers passing through. So we'll go wet, dry, wet, dry. To the 8-day outlook, it should be clear and cold at sunrise on Wednesday morning. Then cloud spreads through again, and so Wednesday is a fairly grey day. The nicest bit is at dawn when it's just 7 degrees. It'll be a top of 16. On Thursday, cloudy to start, then some afternoon sunny breaks. It does look dry, a top of 17. Friday, there is cloud cover overhead. We've got patchy light rain moving through. That should increase during the evening after a top of 17. The wind picks up, and that is for Saturday too. 22, lots of showers coming in, also 17. Sunday, that is the dry day, lots of sunshine, but there is a breeze in there ahead of cold showers returning early next week. So we have another showery day on the way tomorrow. It is another top of 14. Mitch, how do you like 14?
Oh, at least the buds are getting bigger on the trees. That's always a good sign at this time of year.
Exactly, nice to look at.
Looking forward to that. Thank you very much, Jane. Now, here's what's on Sunrise in the morning. And that's the way it is this Monday, the 16th of August. Thanks for your company. We'll have updates throughout the evening. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.